What if the perfect solution to your biggest problem was sitting right there, just waiting for you to be brave enough to reach out and grab it? That's the tantalizing reality facing the Vancouver Canucks as they stare at a potential blockbuster trade that could completely transform their championship aspirations. Pavel Zacha of the Boston Bruins isn't just another name floating around in trade rumors. He's the exact piece that could catapult Vancouver from playoff hopefuls back into legitimate Stanley Cup contention. But here's where this story gets absolutely electrifying. The cost of acquiring Zacha might be exactly what separates contenders from pretenders. We're talking about a trade proposal that would send shockwaves through both franchises and potentially reshape the entire competitive landscape of the NHL. The question isn't whether this deal makes sense. It's whether the Canucks have the courage to make the kind of franchise-altering move that champions are made of. This isn't your typical late-summer trade speculation. This is about an organization that's reached a crossroads where playing it safe guarantees mediocrity, while taking calculated risks could unlock championship potential that's been dormant for far too long. The Canucks find themselves in a position that's both precarious and promising. After shipping JT Miller to the New York Rangers and watching Pius Suter walk away to St. Louis as a free agent, Vancouver's center depth has been gutted in a way that threatens to undermine everything they've built. But sometimes crisis creates opportunity, and Zacha represents exactly the kind of upgrade that could transform perceived weakness into unexpected strength. Pavel Zacha isn't just another middle six forward looking for a change of scenery. He's a proven commodity who brings the exact skill set that Vancouver desperately needs. His combination of size, skill, and two-way reliability makes him the kind of player who elevates everyone around him while providing the defensive responsibility that championship teams require. What makes Zacha particularly intriguing for the Canucks is his contract situation. At $4.75 million through the 2026-27 season, he represents incredible value in today's inflated market. This isn't a rental acquisition that provides short-term help while sacrificing long-term flexibility. This is the kind of foundational addition that could anchor Vancouver's center position for multiple championship windows. The timing of Boston's willingness to move Zacha couldn't be more perfect for Vancouver's needs. The Bruins are clearly in a transitional phase, looking to retool their roster while maximizing the return on valuable assets. For the Canucks, this creates a rare opportunity to acquire a player of Zacha's caliber without having to outbid desperate contenders in a bidding war. Zacha's reduced no-trade list, which dropped from 10 teams to 8 on July 1st, suggests that he's becoming more open to potential destinations. This development works in Vancouver's favor, as they represent the kind of young, ascending team that skilled players typically want to join when given the choice. When analyzing potential trades, it's easy to get caught up in hypotheticals and overlook the concrete production that players bring to the table. Zacha's track record speaks for itself in ways that should excite Canucks fans and terrify their division rivals. His consistent 20-goal, 50-point production represents exactly the kind of reliable offense that championship teams are built around. But Zacha's value extends far beyond basic point totals. His versatility allows him to excel in multiple situations, from power play quarterback duties to penalty kill responsibilities. This kind of multidimensional impact is what separates good players from great ones and essential players from luxury acquisitions. The defensive metrics paint an equally impressive picture of Zacha's two-way contributions. His ability to win faceoffs, break up plays in the defensive zone, and transition from defense to offense seamlessly makes him the kind of complete player that coaches build systems around. For a Canucks team that struggled with defensive consistency, adding a player of Zacha's reliability could stabilize their entire approach. Comparing Zacha to current Canucks centers reveals just how significant this upgrade would be. Philip Chytil, while talented, hasn't demonstrated the consistent production or defensive reliability that Zacha brings to the table. The gap between their respective impacts could be the difference between playoff disappointment and championship contention. The ripple effects of adding Zacha would be felt throughout Vancouver's lineup. His presence would allow other players to slide into more appropriate roles, creating better matchups and more balanced scoring throughout the depth chart. This kind of roster optimization is what transforms good teams into great ones. Every meaningful acquisition requires sacrifice, and the proposed trade package for Zacha represents exactly the kind of bold commitment that separates championship organizations from perpetual also-rans. Offering a 2026 first-round pick and add a rating might seem steep, but championship windows demand exactly this kind of calculated aggression. The first-round pick component acknowledges the reality of Zacha's value in today's market. Top 6 centers with term remaining on reasonable contracts don't become available often, and when they do, the price reflects their scarcity. For Vancouver, this pick represents an investment in immediate championship contention rather than speculative future development. Add-a-Rady adds another dimension to this trade proposal that could make it irresistible to Boston. Rady represents the kind of high-ceiling prospect that rebuilding teams covet, with the skill set and development trajectory that could eventually make him a cornerstone player. His inclusion transforms this from a simple rental deal into a legitimate hockey trade that benefits both organizations. The risk of parting with Rady is real and shouldn't be minimized. Young forwards with his potential don't grow on trees, and there's always the possibility that he develops into a player more valuable than what Vancouver receives in return. But championship windows require exactly this kind of calculated risk-taking, and the Canucks are in a position where immediate help trumps future potential. Boston's perspective makes this trade even more logical. The Bruins have acknowledged that they're open to moving Zacha, suggesting that they're prioritizing future assets over current roster construction. For an organization with one of the league's weakest prospect pools, acquiring both a first-round pick and a promising young forward addresses their most pressing organizational needs. The urgency surrounding this potential trade stems from the harsh reality of championship windows and their tendency to close faster than expected. The Canucks have assembled a core that's capable of competing at the highest level, but cores don't remain competitive indefinitely. Every season without meaningful additions is another year closer to inevitable decline. Vancouver's current trajectory suggests that they're approaching a critical juncture in their competitive timeline. Their key players are entering their prime years, their supporting cast is developing nicely, and their organizational infrastructure is positioned for success. What they lack is the final piece that transforms potential into production. The Western Conference landscape makes this urgency even more pronounced. With teams like Colorado, Vegas, and others continuing to improve their rosters, standing pat essentially means falling behind. The Canucks can't afford to hope that internal development will bridge the gap between their current roster and championship contention. Zacha represents more than just individual production. He's the kind of addition that signals organizational commitment to winning now. Players notice when management demonstrates championship ambition through meaningful acquisitions, and that kind of organizational culture becomes self-reinforcing in positive ways. The alternative to making this kind of move is accepting mediocrity for the foreseeable future. Without significant additions, the Canucks risk wasting the prime years of their core while watching division rivals pull ahead in the championship race. If Vancouver pulls the trigger on this trade, the ramifications extend far beyond just adding one player to their roster. Zacha's arrival would signal a philosophical shift toward championship or bust mentality that could energize the entire organization from top to bottom. The message to current players would be unmistakable. Management is committed to winning now and willing to make the tough decisions necessary to compete at the highest level. This kind of organizational clarity eliminates uncertainty and allows everyone to focus on the singular goal of championship pursuit. The impact on team chemistry and locker room culture could be equally significant. Adding a proven winner with Zacha's leadership qualities and work ethic sets a standard that elevates everyone around him. These intangible benefits often prove more valuable than statistical contributions alone. From a strategic standpoint, Zacha's addition would force opponents to adjust their game plans and matchup strategies when facing Vancouver. The depth and versatility he brings creates mismatches that skilled coaching staffs can exploit throughout long playoff series. the long-term implications are equally compelling. If this trade helps Vancouver achieve playoff success, it validates their aggressive approach and potentially attracts other high-level players who want to be part of a winning culture. This trade proposal represents everything that makes hockey's trade market so compelling. The intersection of organizational vision, player value, and championship ambition colliding in ways that could reshape multiple franchises. The Canucks stand at the threshold of a decision that could define their competitive future for years to come. The question now isn't whether they should make this trade. It's whether they have the organizational courage to seize the moment when championship opportunities present themselves. History remembers the teams that acted decisively when faced with these kinds of franchise-defining moments. Do you think the Canucks should pull the trigger on this blockbuster deal, or is the price too steep for what Zacha brings to the table? Hit that like button if you're as excited as I am about the possibilities this trade could unlock, and drop your thoughts in the comments about whether Vancouver has what it takes to make the kind of championship-caliber moves that separate contenders from pretenders.